Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion. The fit for this video is the X-Men cartoon. Let's take a look at a video.
Before I persuade you on the existence of God, I bet I can get you closer to the idea of the necessity of believing in a God.
All right, let's see it.
And that if you do not believe in a God that is transcendent above you, how do you act? Where do you know what is right or wrong, or good or evil?
So there are a lot of different approaches to moral philosophy, and divine command ethics is among them. But one of the most ludicrous claims that you'll see on social media today is that divine command ethics is superior because it has an objective moral standard, which is God, and because without God you have no such standard. And this is laughable precisely because God provides absolutely no such standard. Because when people talk about God, what they're talking about is my interpretation of sacred texts. And texts don't have any inherent meaning. You create meaning with the text. So your interpretation is contingent and is subjective and can never be anything other than contingent and subjective. So no, you have no objective moral standard. Divine command ethics is among the most malleable and changeable of approaches to moral philosophy. And a good illustration of that is what we did with slavery. Every last syllable of the Bible that has anything at all to say about slavery unilaterally condones it, sometimes even endorses it. There is absolutely no objection whatsoever to the practice of buying, selling, and owning human beings anywhere in the Bible. Society changed its mind over 1,500 years later, however. And so the frameworks that we bring to our interpretation of the text have changed. And so now we can go into the text and we can find a negotiated approach to slavery that sees it as a moral wrong and sees the Bible as recognizing it as a moral wrong. There's absolutely no objective moral standard to divine command ethics. It is just a proof text for whatever interpretations best serve the needs, the exigencies, the rhetorical goals of the social identity that is approaching it. Now, I'm a specialist in the cognitive science of religion, which has an awful lot to say about where morality comes from. If you would like to hear more about the application of the cognitive sciences to the question of morality, its origins, and its natures, these are just some of the texts that you can go look up.
And before you say it's just built into me, that's complete rubbish. We know that. You can visit country after country in the third world of how they treat children, of how they treat women. It is not natural to do what we've done here in the West. You think it's natural because you've been raised in a Western construct.
So this is just knuckle-dragging white supremacy. Charlie Kirk does not know the first thing about how moral systems develop and operate in other societies. He's very clearly done no research whatsoever, and there's absolutely no such the West and the rest dichotomy. The West has an atrocious track record when it comes to how we treat women, how we treat children, how we treat other people.
And so when the population looks at the Ten Commandments, for example, and they just look at it as like some nice life advice or some good ideas, it loses its zing or its spice to be able to actually put a population back towards ethical behavior. The Ten Commandments worked to build Western society because you had a population that believed that if they didn't follow the Ten Commandments, that God would judge them, and that God wanted them to live that way.
So the Ten Commandments fall pretty low on the list of things that help create what we label Western civilization. What has been influential within the Ten Commandments is not unique to the Ten Commandments, but rather are pretty widespread and general moral principles that we can find in societies around the world and throughout time. What is unique to the Ten Commandments is usually reinterpreted depending on the context or just outright ignored. What has been a lot more influential in the development of what we label Western civilization are things like European imperialism and its exploitation of lands, of peoples, and of resources. The retrieval of classical philosophy thanks to its preservation within medieval Islamic philosophy. The scientific advancements of the Renaissance and the Enlightenment in spite of the influence of Christianity on European imperialism. So there are a lot of things that have been a lot more influential than the Ten Commandments, and none of them really point in the direction of the West being morally transcendent in any way, shape, or form whatsoever.